Hello. Welcome to Critical Conversations. I'm your host, Karissa Dean. Silly intro. I don't know. I was sitting here and I was like, what am I talking about? Hold on, I'm checking my because that's what we do here. I don't know. I just had this thought about, how there's like that one deep, manly, like, hello voice. And I don't know. Anyways, so you're welcome. I was just being silly. How are you guys? That was the fun intro of me just getting on here and being so freaking stoked about my life. And I want to talk about this. I want to talk about a bunch of different things. We'll see where this podcast takes us. As you guys always know that, sometimes I have topics, they're super streamlined, but 90% of the time, we're just having a conversation. And so today I am recording and I'm kind of like in this stage in my life and in my business where it fucking feels good. Like almost 100% of the time. Doesn't mean that I haven't had moments of grouchiness or doubt. But like, honestly, like I feel like all this hard work that I've done, all this intentionality is really finally paying off. And so I want to celebrate that. And I want to talk about that. It's interesting. So, the last few conversations I've had, the conversation with Mia Gray, and some other folks, but Mia specifically, we have been in cahoots with each other for some time, and we've been through some wild things together. And what we did is we kind of came together and we were like, okay, let's debunk this, buzzword of manifestation. So if you didn't listen to that episode, definitely give it a listen. It's a 2-part episode, and it's an interesting conversation because what has been happening in my life seems like I'm today's years old, and I finally understand what it means to manifest. And I want to talk about this first and share because I had a really unique conversation with my husband. So my husband is your pretty standard, white male, American made, small town, grew up, pretty well in that poverty line. They didn't have a lot of extras. They didn't travel a whole lot or do a whole lot. But what he did was live a very unique wilderness kind of life. Like part of his childhood was growing up on different, in different communities where there were like collaborative communities, I guess is the nicest way to say it. But, he grew up in a teepee. He grew up in a cabin with no power. He had to hunt for a lot of his food. His parents did teach him a lot of survival skills. But really, he's a self-made millionaire. He's a self-made, hardworking motherfucker. And so his approach to business, has always ruffled my feathers. But it's like I finally also kind of get it in a way too. And so I want to talk about that because him and I had this very unique conversation about manifestation and about how like it's kind of like clicking in my brain in a different way. And it was really fun to have this conversation. We had it with Ruby there as well. And we were just talking about, there's all these people who want to sell you these personal development books, and they want you to buy this online course, and their course title is manifest, right? They're going to like help you manifest your dreams. And it's funny because Nigel and I were talking about this because his mom wanted me to do this thing, and it was manifest, and I was like, I'll look at it. She's into woo-woo stuff, I'm into woo-woo stuff. We both love Abraham Hicks, and so I was like, whatever, like I'll check it out. So I check it out, and it's so interesting to me. It's like, how can you sell a program and tell me that within a week or a month or a year that I'm going to quote unquote have this thing? I'm going to manifest it. You're going to teach me how to manifest. And it kind of like rubs me the wrong way because manifesting is so much more than like a skill set, right? Like I could sit down and I could teach you business strategy, right? It's like there's tactical things, there's steps, there's an order of operations to that. But if you've listened to the conversation I've had with Mia, manifesting is so unique to the individual, and there's so many nuances and details about that person. And so there really isn't a one size fits all approach to manifestation. And it's so much more than just like sit down and grab your journal and do some like woo woo meditations and like, journal prompts. Like manifesting is active involvement in your everyday life. And, I often with clients use the scale, example. So, manifesting isn't really 50-50 one thing or the other. It's really unique for other people. So the scales can be tilted so odd that it's like, I don't really think that anyone can teach you how to manifest. I think that manifestation is real. And I was actually super shocked to hear that Nigel said he believes manifestation is real. But the reality is that we have so much behind like the closed doors of our lives. And that's truly where the manifestation comes, is not in like checklist. Okay, I meditated. Okay, I journaled. Okay, I'm paying attention to my mindset. It's like so deep. It's deep into like, what do you actually believe to be true for you? What do you actually believe is possible for you? So it's a lot of inner child work and debunking a lot of conditional like thought patterns. So this brings me to this conversation I had with Nigel. So Nigel and I are talking about this program, and he's like, oh, that's great. They're just selling fluff. And he's like, you should just do that. And I'm like, no, you already know, like, that's not what I do. And he's like, I know, I love you. And that's the thing, is there's so many people on the online space right now who are like going around telling you that they're going to help you get 10K worth of sales, or they're going to help you manifest this thing or do this thing. And while I think that there's some truth to these programs, I think what they're selling is a lot of fluff. And it works for some people because that method is the correct method for them, for their unique personality type, for their unique human design, for their unique like way that they grew up, their conditioning, right? And so it works for some people because it is the right fit, but it doesn't work for so many. And I think that there's a lack of responsibility here in disclaiming that, I may have created a program and it might work for some, but it might not work for all. And this is why I think I love the one-to-one relationship or those small group coaching containers, because I get to know who you are, right? And so Nigel and I are sitting there and we're talking, and I was like, I told your mom I'm not doing it. And he's like, why not? Like, it's only $200. Just do it. And I was like, well, here's why. Because it's messy. And the more you ingest these like, oh, do it my way kind of like mindsets, the further from who you are you get to be. Okay, I'm going to say that again. So the more you are ingesting personal development, mindset stuff. Let's just take the example of law of attraction. If you're like, I'm going to do law of attraction, you can't then also be doing the Feel Free to Prosper program or A Course in Miracles. They're all very unique like ways of manifesting, for lack of a better word. And if you are like doing them all at the same time, it's too much information, and your system is override. Like it's like a system override, right? And so I'm explaining why I'm not doing this. And he's like, well, it might be good for my mom. And I'm like, okay, well, I get that. Like, and I told your mom she should do it, but I'm not going to do it because I know what finally works for me. And I don't need to continue to ingest more information about it. What I need to do is get rid of all that external noise and trust myself. And he was like, oh, I get it. But it got us talking about like manifestation. It got us talking about trusting ourselves, and it got us talking about action, which I think is the biggest piece about, what's happening in today's society. It's like we live in this world where we want these quick, instantaneous results. But the reality is building that sustainable like success, and define success however you want, but building that sustainable thing for you takes action. And you got to get your hands dirty to get the result that you want. You have to be willing to have difficult conversations. You have to lean into your discomfort and be like, why is this showing up for me? And how do I want to move through it? How do I want to, process it or overcome it? Maybe we don't want to overcome it. Maybe we're not ready to face it. But you can't just manifest something from a course. What you can get from these courses is information that you can play with, that you can try, that you can manipulate and mold into your own unique program. So manifesting is an inside job. It is about your beliefs, your values, what you know to be true for yourself, what you believe is possible for you. And that's the inner work, right? The other part of manifestation is the action, the aligned action, right? So let's say I want to open a Starbucks chain. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to work through my beliefs, my values. I'm going to get really clear about my goals. I'm going to set some intentions. I'm going to really find the sole reason. I'm going to get rooted in my why. The Starbucks franchise doesn't happen with only that piece of work. I'm going to have to actually take action. I'm going to have to email Starbucks and be like, how do I open a franchise? I'm going to have to follow up with that action. I'm going to have to get on the phone. I'm going to have to make phone calls. Where am I going to put this location? I'm going to be doing actual research out in the world that we're living in. I'm going to show up to these different places and try and have different conversations. I'm going to ask questions. I'm probably going to visit a bunch of other Starbuckses and try and meet with the owners. Now, here's the thing. I actually don't know if this is how Starbucks works. I don't know if they're all franchises and they're individually owned or not. But I'm just, using the example, right? Because there's a fucking Starbucks on every corner. But whatever it is, I'm going to actually have to go out into the field, right? The 3D world. And I'm going to have to get involved. I'm going to have to make phone calls. I'm going to have to email people. I'm going to have to ask questions. I'm going to have difficult conversations. I'm going to be told no 100 times before I get that one yes that gets me closer to the thing that I want. And so it's interesting to me because we were talking about his mom, which led us to talk about some other people. And we're sitting down and we're like, I really didn't think that he was going to be into this conversation because he's all action. But then it was we started talking about his beliefs. And I was like, where did that come from? And he was like, well, my mom always told me I could do anything, that I could own the world, that I could have whatever I want. And it clicked for me. The man has had this internal dialogue from day fucking one because his mom only spoke positive, uplifting, you can have anything you want in life. You can be anything you want in life. It's all possible for you. The world is your, literally, I still hear it to this day about how smart he is, how talented he is. He's so good at this. He's so good at it was always lighthearted, uplifting, I believe in you type of reinforcement that he got. So his 50% of manifestation, the internal dialogue, is what 90% of us are battling. And what it got me thinking about is where in my life did somebody feed that into me? And the sad truth is I don't have a memory of it. I don't have a memory of anyone ever telling me that I could be anything more than a wife and a mom. And so when it goes into, I'm trying to create this business, I'm trying to have this bigger impact, I'm trying to be this leader, I'm trying to be this truth seeker and speaker, there's so much more internally that I have to battle. because I can do all the external stuff. I understand that. I know how to do the business strategy. I know how to lean into the difficult conversations. Like, I know how to show up and do the work. But my hurdle has been that internal dialogue and that belief in myself, and really understanding what are my core values and really aligning the truth of what I want, right? Like, my brain says, oh, you can do it. But like, inside in me, I have these deep rooted beliefs that I'm only good enough to be a wife and a mom. So this conversation around manifesting, and it just was like this whole bomb went off in our whole in the house, and then Ruby's sitting there, right, and she's listening to all this, and she's like, Mom, you can do anything. Mom, you're so good at it. Mom, I listened to you. Like, Mom, you're, and it's like, no one ever fucking said that to me out loud. They may have thought it. Like, I don't think there's like, this is not, oh, my parents are terrible, or no. That is not what I'm saying. My parents love me. They absolutely did the best fucking job that they could. However, they were in their own shit, too busy to realize that they weren't building me up to dream big. It was always just kind of like fit in, right? Which I think is like I'm going to say it. It's the Christian way to be. It's like, you don't ruffle feathers. You don't want more than you need. You don't like push boundaries. Like, you just kind of fit in. You slide in there. You go to Applebee's on Friday. You volunteer at the school. You take your kids to activities. You go to church on Sunday. Like, that was my life. And so like, my belief system about what was possible for me was so small. So fucking small. So for the last year, right, I really, I haven't shared this with you guys, but some of my personal friends know that my trip to Morocco was me deciding, am I doing this or not? Am I going to keep coaching? Am I going to keep trying to do this? Because I was at a point where I really just didn't believe in myself. I really didn't, like, the evidence wasn't big enough to debunk the value I had for myself. And so this quick trip to Morocco was really like, who the fuck is Karissa? Like, get off the devices, get off social media, get away from the noise, drown out everything, like, get away from your family, get away. Like, who is Karissa and what is important? What do I value at the end of the day, outside of Nigel, outside of Ruby? Like, what am I fucking creating here? Like, what's my purpose? And so since that time of being in Morocco to now, I have spent so much time and energy and effort to rewire my beliefs, to really get into my subconscious mind and be like, no, girl, you can fucking do whatever you want to do. But it's like, I had to get to know myself, to trust myself. And I had to love myself enough to say, fuck it. I'm going to figure out who Karissa Dean is. And I'm going to look for the areas where I'm getting in my own way, where I'm holding myself back. So it's like, I understood manifestation. I'm doing all the fucking things, guys. I'm journaling, I'm meditating, I'm like writing the affirmations. I've got the positive mindset. I'm doing all the aligned action, right? I'm doing the emails, I'm doing the podcasts, I'm doing the social media, I'm going to networking events, I'm shaking people's hands, I'm putting myself in awkward situations, like I'm leveraging my network. Like, I'm reading all the books. I'm having fun, enjoying my life. Like, it was all there, except for the belief that I was actually worthy of creating something, of actually believing that I could be more than just a wife or just a mom. And I have never been more in love with my husband and felt so seen. And the way that he has approached this healing for me, right? Because I'm not necessarily broken, but it's like I had to believe in myself when nobody told me that it could happen for me. And it was like, I really had to like build that foundation up of I actually believe it now. I don't know if I believed it then. And that's that like silent confidence. But this is the piece of manifestation that is so unique. Manifesting for Nigel is instantaneous. And I always would look at him in awe of like, how the fuck are you just like you're like, I'm going to get this $1 million job, and boom, it happens because there's no resistance. There's nothing getting in the way. He doesn't have any of this trauma or, lack of foundation, right? Where it's like, I had lack of foundation. So I don't know what it is for you. Do you have lack of foundation? Do you have trauma? Do you are you not doing the action and you're just wishing that it happened for you? Are you just like doing the prayers, but not doing the aligned work? I think that there is a delicate balance here. There is the masculine and the feminine, and there is the doing and the not doing. There's the giving, and then there's the receiving. But it all comes back to like, what's happening inside you? And do you even know? Like, are you aware of it? Right. And so like, I wasn't even aware of this until I went to Morocco, and I was like, wait a minute, this woman did this incredible thing. Well, what's your relationship with your partner, with your kids, with your family, and it was in this community of women who I'd never met before. And just these different conversations and like even just the Moroccan culture, right? The Muslim culture, like listening, to our guide and talking to the different people. It's like, the way that they were raised and what was spoken into them or not spoken into them had a huge impact on where they were in their life. Huge, right? Because it wasn't that anyone told me I was dumb, that wasn't my motivator to try and prove somebody wrong, right? It wasn't that nobody loved me. And so I don't, it's just that I didn't believe that it was okay to create something, to be big, to try and fail, right? And so it's so challenging for me to see these manifestation programs and these like cookie cutter, books of do this, this, and this, and it'll happen for you. Yeah, it works for a lot of people, but not everyone. Because some people are missing like the most minute thing, and that's enough resistance where it won't happen. And so I found myself in this pattern where I would say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to create this thing. And I would be all like, the energy would be good, the vibes would be really good. I would do all the action. And then I would be like, okay, I'm going to like send it off into the universe and like, it's just going to happen. And then I'd wake up the next day and I'd be like, oh, God, I don't think it's going to happen. Like, I don't think it should happen. Like if it happens, and I would like create these dramatic scenarios. And so the universe is like, oh, she doesn't want it. And then the next day I'd be like, okay, I got to get my vibe high. I got to get back in it. And so it was this whole like back, forth, stop, go. And it's like 1 step forward, 5 steps back, 5 steps towards, 2 steps back. And so it's like, I'm just constantly in the same place versus like building or moving. Right. And it fucking sucked. It fucking sucked. And I'm today years old and I get it. I get it. There was resistance in my subconscious mind, that back and forth. And even though I was trying to battle it, even though I was like, really, I was aware that it was there, I couldn't overcome it. And I couldn't overcome it because I wasn't willing to go to, why did it exist? Where did it come from? And so this is why I think I always am telling my clients, like, choose you and be curious, be more curious. And this conversation, that I had with Nigel and Ruby, it's like you realize how simple it is, but then how quickly it can all move and change. And it's like the moment I finally was like, I'm going to get curious about this and I'm going to heal this within myself. Like, this is not something I need to take to my parents. This is not a boundary. This is just a value of, do I value myself enough to believe in myself? And can I get more curious about how this new value system gets to have more weight and emphasis than the old value system? And so, it's frustrating because I think that the coaching industry at large is getting a bad rap because we're trying to sell something, but we don't know what we're selling. So we're just taking these buzzwords and we're slapping a course title across of it, or a group program, or I can help you do this. And it's like, yes, and also, do you give a fuck about the person buying it? And are you actually invested enough? Like, do you believe in your work enough that you're willing to get dirty with your people? And that's the difference. I'm willing to get dirty with my people. I onboarded 2 new clients this month, and it's absolutely thrilling to me to get to know who they are, to say, okay, I want to, give me all your birth chart stuff. I want to know what your human design is. I'm going to pull up your numerology. I'm going to pull up, X, Y, and Z. Do you know how you learn? Have you taken a Myers-Briggs? Like, what's your personality type? What's your love language? Like, there's so many questions I want to understand because I want to help the individual who's right in front of me. And I can do that if I'm willing to get curious about who they are. Not just how much they're going to pay me and how many times we're going to meet, and here are all my fucking boundaries. Don't text me after 5 p.m. Like, no. That's not how I work. I want to help you. And I remember I told this client who I had just onboarded, I said, I see you and I'm going to work with you until you feel better. Like, I am committed. But how committed are you? Because I can't do the work for you, right? And she's like, I'm an 8. And I was like, okay, great. Let's get it to a 10. Because if you're a 10 and I'm a 10, fucking magic is happening. Manifesting is real. The law of attraction is real. Feel free to prosper is real. But you got to fucking love yourself. You got to know who you are, and you got to be your own goddamn cheerleader. You cannot wait for someone else to do it for you. Over the weekend, I was working at the farm, and we had a hand crew. So we had 4 guys who are down on the ground, and then I was in a machine, Nigel was in a machine. And so we're cleaning up the fields because we want to, grade them out, level them out. We also want to, be able to grow crops and different things. So you got to clear the field. So we got to get all the rocks, all the sticks. There's trees that are down. So we're cleaning up. So we have this hand crew of 4 guys, and they fill your buckets, and then you go dump the bucket, in the pile according. And I remember I put it in park, and I got out, and I was helping, and they all looked at me. And in that moment, I knew they were going to work harder because they knew how important it was for me that it was done right. And in that moment, I felt the energy change for me, because instead of expecting them to do it all for me, I was participating. I was part of the solution. I was part of the goal. I was willing to get my hands dirty because I see this result and I know nobody else can do it all for me. I have to participate so that when I get that crop, when I get that result, it's going to feel so fucking good. It's going to feel so good because I'm actively participating in the process. I'm a member of the process. I'm seeing it through. Not only did we organize the guys coming, we're paying them to be there. I'm on the machine, so I'm seeing what's happening, and I'm a part of every stage of the process. And I think that's the piece of some of these courses or books. If you are buying it with the intention that this is the thing that will fix it, right? It won't work. Because that is outside of you. And what is outside of you is not for you. You have to cultivate from within. You have to be willing to get your hands dirty and be part of the process. You have to do the work. And I kind of did a little bit of a rant on my Instagram the other day about this, because it's like this epiphany went off. And it was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I was working for the other woman, it's like I wanted her to do it for me. I wanted her to be the thing that would get me where I wanted to be. You know, also, like, my goals and my values were different back then. I didn't have all the information I have now, and that's how it works. You know, this is part of like the path and the journey, the evolution of becoming. But it's like, I remember it's like I wanted Nigel to do it for me. I wanted Nigel to just like solve all my problems, but he couldn't fucking do it. And so I was angry at him for not solving my problems. And I wanted, you know, Antoinette to be the person who would come in and save me. But like, she couldn't be that person. I have to save myself. I have to get my hands dirty. And it's like I'm having all these epiphanies over the last, you know, year around how much emphasis we all, because it's not just me, I'm going to win the lottery and that will be the thing. I'm going to read this book and that will be the thing. You know, a year ago, I thought I was going to invest in this coach and that would be the thing. And guess what? It worked for a hot second. I had some killer 10K plus months, not sustainable. So that's why I'm always talking about sustainability. The thing outside of you that you think is going to solve it won't work. This is the piece of manifestation that gets fucked up. It's all within you, dude. Like, you have to do that inside you. And if you're not willing to get your hands dirty, then it won't fucking work. So get a pen out. And let's go through some of these questions that I want you to ask yourself so that you can really understand what it means to get your hands dirty, put in the effort, and get the result that you want. Okay. First question. Are you ready? Who am I? Who am I? This is more than your name. This is more than white female or whatever you identify as. Who are you? Like, what do you represent? Okay. Question number 2. What is my deepest, darkest desire in life? Like, at the root of all the things, what's there? What is your deepest desire? 3. What do I want from this life? What do you want? When you start to get curious about who you are and what you want, and you do it because you know yourself, it's different. Because I think when I finally slowed down enough and I released all the anger and I released all the judgment and I released all this, you know, external desire, I kind of realized that what I wanted was so much different than what I thought. But you have to get quiet enough to answer these questions. And you have to be willing to have some challenging and confronting conversations. Are you waiting for someone else to do it for you? I was. I kept collaborating with people and wanting to do things with people because I thought I could never do it alone. I could never do it alone. So please, yeah, let's do it together. Whereas now I'm collaborating because it's fun and I want the other person to win just as much as I want to win. If not more, a lot of the times. Manifesting is a thing, but it won't fix you unless you're willing to look at yourself first. You know, I read a lot of business books, and Nigel and I talk a lot about business. And he is always saying, people don't want to buy the hard things. And I agree with them. People don't want to buy the getting of the hands dirty. But I will tell you right now, that is the only fucking reason I got on this podcast, and I was lighthearted and fun. And I can literally tell you that like 99.99% of my days I'm in this like funky mood of fun and joy and laughter and just like lightheartedness. It's because I got dirty. I got my hands dirty. Yeah, I want to feel good, but I'm willing to get my hands dirty. Right? You know, did I really want to go work at the farm on a weekend? No, that's like, I want to go play on the boat. I want to go ride horses. I want to go, you know, wine tasting. I want to go, I don't do wine tasting, but, you know, anyways, giving examples. I want to watch Netflix. I want to read a good book. I want to, you know, it's like, I want to sleep in. I want to go to a fun brunch, like whatever. But like the reality is that like the farm doesn't get better unless Nigel and I are willing to make sacrifices now for that bigger vision. So what sacrifice are you willing to make? And if you're not willing to make a sacrifice, why? What are you waiting for? Like, again, you can have it. You can manifest it, but it has to come from within you, not outside of you. And you have to be willing to get your hands dirty. And so like, I'm unwilling to change my sales approach in a lot of ways because I don't want to fucking lie to people. I don't want to create a program that's like manifest and it's so pretty and sparkly and it's going to be beautiful and da 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 da. It's like, actually, I'm going to make you get your hands dirty. But like, if you're willing to get your hands dirty a little bit, I promise I'll make it fun along the way and I'll be with you along the way. But like, you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to do that inner work. Or I'm going to say, wow, you've done a lot of inner work. Let's get that business strategy going. Let's get the accountability to get some like email processing happening. What's your flow? You know, what's your funnel? Like how are you getting new customers? Oh, you're not even like going out into the world and saying you have something to sell or share or do? Oh, well, yeah. It's cool that you believe it, but if you're not taking the action, I don't know how they're coming to you. And we don't have to do it the same. Like, that's the fun part about what I get to do and why I love, you know, working one-to-one or in these small group containers is because I can really make it what works for you. So like my coaching approach is so different and I'm not changing it. It feels really good. And clearly it fucking works. I have evidence that it's working. Do I have dozens and dozens of new clients every month? No, but 2 new every month is like, pff, cool. That's awesome, man. I'll take it. Super thrilled. I want to celebrate that shit. Thank you. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for choosing me. But more importantly, thank you for choosing yourself. Thank you for being more curious about how it can get better for you and being willing to get your hands dirty. So this was the rant on Instagram. You know, you might need to be getting your hands dirty doing that internal work like I had to do the last, year. Maybe it's the, kicking of your own ass to cultivate a really good business strategy and have the accountability to follow through with it. Maybe it's difficult conversations with your parents or your partner. Maybe it's looking at how you're parenting and how you're showing up. And what are you feeding your kid? Are you feeding it what Nigel got, which was like, you can do, be, have, anything? Or were you just kind of there? Basic needs are met. Don't dream too big. That's scary. All right. I think my rant's over. I hope it's helpful. I really do. Like today, I talked to 3 random DMs and I dropped one person into the group hub because she's got something going on. And I was like, bro, just get in there. Like, I don't care. And she's like, are you going to charge me? No, I'm not going to charge you. I actually just want you to win. I actually just want everyone to win. Like, really, I really, really, really do. I'd be a lot more wealthy if I actually made people pay me what I'm worth, what I know I'm worth. But the thing is like, I also believe that you have to experience coaching to understand why it's worth the investment. So if you're sitting here, you have no idea what coaching is, you've never really experienced it, get on the fucking phone with me, man, and I will show you the power of coaching. I mean, I just have so many success stories about one conversation really changing the trajectory for somebody. And I think it gets to be that simple, which is why I don't do these big contracts anymore. It's like pay as you go, player's choice, work with me once a month, twice a month, every week. Every client is so different. And that's what I love about this work, is that it's really about where are you at? What do you need? No cookie cutters here. Also, I'm gluten-free, so I don't eat a whole lot of cookies. All right, you guys, that's it for today. We're at the 40-minute mark. I don't want to keep you too long. I could keep talking about this forever, and I'm super happy to keep talking about it if you are interested. So always make sure to send those voice notes in, send those emails, DMs. I love to hear from you guys. I love to hear your success stories. I really want I want people to feel better. I want you to live better. I want you to know that change is really, really good. It's challenging. It's confronting. But it's like that dirty work doesn't last very long, honestly. And to be honest with you, that like it feels good to do the dirty work, because on the other side of like getting your hands a little dirty, it's like epiphanies and beauty, and that's when all the manifesting happens. Like seriously, that's when it starts to like boom, ba-da-ding, land and fall into place. So don't give up no matter where you're at. Just keep going. It's another day. You get to make a new choice, and I hope you choose you. See you on the next conversation.